let's actually start. If you don't have your camera on, get everything set up. We're going to start in Tai Chi Harmony, so allow your feet to touch. Push your head top up to the highest point. And then using as little of your arm power as possible. You can use your body power, you can use your breathing and your mind. Bring the hands to the center. And then check from the head top. Is it going up as high as it can? Can we push more energy to the top? Relax your brow. You can wiggle your eyebrows. Can you move your ears? To allow the skin on the top of the head to relax. Open your vision. See 180 degrees. Open your nostrils. Activate the corners of the mouth. Good morning, Mark. Connect the tongue to the roof of the mouth. Keep the chin tucked. Relax your jaw. And then make the upper part of your neck straight. So pushing up through the back of the neck. Relax the shoulders. The center is supporting, so we're allowing the lower back to relax. When we talk about the tailbone, we think of it more like the end of a chain. So if the head top is all the way up there, the tailbone is relaxed. It's in a relaxed position. We don't have it tilted back, up. It's down. The insides of the insides of the hips are folding inwards. You can think of a line that goes from the hip to the opposite knee, so that this is collapsing, especially when we're doing Tai Chi. While we're standing, it's less obvious. The knees have a bend. Expand your ankles so you feel as though you have power in the ankles. Pull the heels in. Grab the toes onto the ground. And then internally, we've already said the tongue is connected to the upper palate. When we're breathing, we're lifting the base of the torso. Today we're going to talk about structure. A big topic in my class. And so when we talk about structure, we talk about shape. So imagine the shape of the letter J that comes down doing this, right? Whichever direction it is, doesn't really matter. But starting from the base of your sternum while you're standing, imagine that shape going down past the base of the torso and coming up just to the top of the tailbone. So just up to here. And so that J shape, when we're breathing, we want to activate the whole thing. So when you inhale, you're pulling in to the diaphragm. You're rolling your abs inwards to the center. You're closing the lower abdominal wall, flexing in, lifting the genitals, lifting the base of the torso, lifting the anus, tucking the tailbone, and closing the glutes. So you can imagine that J shape is like a seam. And so when we're breathing internally, we keep all of that closed. What happens is, as we age, that J shape that I'm using as an example starts to weaken. And it's easier for the stomach to expand. It's easier people have hernias. When you have a hernia, it's happening in the lower abdominal wall as you get a tear. People lose strength and the ability to lift the pelvic floor, the perineum. And so this shape is important, losing strength at the tailbone. When the energy sits at the bottom of the container, it tends to expand. So if we take the idea out of our body, out of our mind, that our system has all of these different parts, and think of it more just like a bag. If we allow the contents to sit in the bag, it will obviously expand at the base. This is why people get a secretary spread. I don't know if that's even a politically correct term, if I can even say that, right? Hemorrhoids, all of these kind of problems with sexual function is coming from by not engaging that shape. By the way, when you're closing that shape, when you're breathing, you should think of the other half of the yin-yang that comes up over the top to here. And so when this is closed, that means this is open. We can send energy to the head top. So while we stand, internally there's movement. So by bringing energy, if you can't feel it, you can use your mind, putting your mind into the right places until the energy starts to follow, or you become sensitive enough to feel the movement of the energy. So we want to bring energy up the spine to the top, over the top. When we talked about aging, the bottom half of the J shape, just like a yin-yang, has a top half. And what happens is energy slides down the back. So this is why people start to lose hair, hair starts to lose color, right? There's problems with the vision, with the hearing, with the teeth. This has to do with the way the energy either can't get to the top efficiently, can't get over the top. So when we have a yin-yang, when we close the lower half, when we're closing the base, we're opening the top. And so this becomes something we want to tie into our breathing cycle. So the whole time we're practicing Tai Chi, when we open, we should be doing the same thing, closing the front and opening the back. And on the exhale, you can let everything relax. You don't have to think of closing the top portion of it. So structure, the inner structure of Tai Chi. Let's do some breathing to start. So, just like a second ago we said, imagine, forget about the parts of your body being different, and just imagine it being one thing. And while you're doing that, when you're breathing, imagine expanding that one thing. So inhale, stretch all the way to inflate. So we're going to breathe for a little bit. The first thing that will happen is as you stretch, you're expanding, just like when you have a balloon and you want to inflate it. If you take the balloon in your hands and you sort of give it the stretch first, that's the external part of this. When you reach even higher, closer to the ceiling, if you're outside, reaching all the way to the sky, and then reaching all the way out to the sides so that your arms are physically stretching. That's one aspect of stretching. We'll call that the external stretch. When you take the balloon before you put anything into it and you give it the stretch. And then internally, just like inflating a balloon, once you blow air into the balloon, it stretches in a different way. So the same way, when we're breathing, reach your hands, feel the power go to your fingertips at all points on the circle. You can relax at the base. And then we'll add a third one. You can think of stretching metaphorically, metaphysically, while you breathe, taking in full breath. Extend your reach. You can extend your reach into the physical world. And so imagine inflating. If I said the terms puffing yourself up, that sounds like a type of false inflation. So make it a real, true inflating. Go at your own pace. By the way, if you keep that, earlier we referred to the J shape, even when you're sitting back, your torso will feel more stable, more comfortable. You won't bend because you're activating the base of the abdomen, the abs, and the muscles that connect to the sternum, the diaphragm. Are you gripping your feet while you're breathing? Do 3 more. Take your time. Make the stretches and the breathing full. When you finish, return to Tai Chi Harmony. And then practice an exercise. So make sure that you're lined up. Pull the head top all the way up. Relax your feet. Make sure that when I say relax your feet, allowing your weight to fully be connected. If you have injury anywhere in the structure, sometimes we pull the feet up, so allow them to sink into the ground. And then activate your feet. I talk about the top and the bottom, pulling your head top and gripping the feet. So like you're stretching the whole body in between. Take a deep breath, relax. We're going to do a little bit of stretching warm-up. To start, take your fingertips and we're going to practice an exercise. Some martial arts schools talk about having an iron grip or developing type of iron fingers for poking and for stabbing and that type of thing. We're going to use them for something different. If you just take the top of your scalp and just take a minute to massage. And then you can imagine that your fingers, we said power goes to the fingertips, the chi goes beyond the fingers. So imagine while you massage your scalp, with the pads of your fingers, you can use your fingernails if they're short enough. Imagine that you can send the chi into the brain, and while you're massaging your scalp, you can massage all the way down to the center. And then take one hand, reach across like you're going to reach the other ear back here like this. But then I want you to feel all the dents and divots on that side of your skull. And where you feel that, apply pressure. Practice your iron finger technique as if you can make your fingers strong enough. If you feel some that are especially tender, take some time to massage those. And then do the other side, reaching across. Remember the breathing, remember the posture. It feels like you can't hit all of them. It feels like when you do, if you come back to one, it's still tender. So next, we'll use the same technique. If you reach across, extend your wingspan. So reach out through the extending hand and pull your elbow back. Keep your spine straight, like it's a metal roller and you want to turn around the center. Remember to breathe deep and then change. The same thing on the other side. Reach power through the fingertips, extending out, straighten your neck. Remember to breathe. And then also stretch your mind at the same time. Come back to the center. You know what? We'll return back to Tai Chi Harmony for the next one. I'll turn a little bit to the side so that you can see. If we have the hands in the center turning, remember the safety first. Protect your lower body. So if you turn, you may know how to turn your knees and hips some amount without hurting or twisting them. But in this one, You can allow your lower body to relax, twisting at the top. Return to the center on your own. You can time it with the breathing, but you don't have to. The more you relax your back, the more you can twist. The idea applies for your neck as well and your head top. The more you get rid of that stress, the easier it is to be flexible. Do one more on each side. Make sure it's balanced out. When you come back to the center, see if you have a very serious expression on your face. All right, at least have something. Okay, next, we're going to work on head and neck. So keep your shoulders in place and then pushing up through the back of your neck until your chin going down to the sternum. And then keeping your head in place, come back to the center. So that's pushed all the way upright. And then the same thing, pushing up as if your head top is leading the stretch up this way. And then come back to the center. And then as if your head top is trying to bend all the way over to reach the shoulder. And then come back to the center, the same thing. What I want you to be doing is keeping power in the tendons in the back of your neck and stretching. Come back to the center. We're going to do some shoulder rolls. I want you to do them very, very large and very slow. So you can time them with the breathing, but you don't have to. I want you to feel the entirety of your upper torso externally, the muscles, the skin, the fascia, tendons, ligaments. Can you feel the bones themselves? If you believe they have no feelings, then you should feel the muscles around them, containing them. Your shoulder blades are there, your ribs are there, the top of your arms are there. And then do the same thing that we did while we're turning around the center. Do the same exercise, the same scale, with the same breathing, but relaxed. Change directions, do some going the other way. By the way, this warm-up is a bit of a suggestion. If you were in the zone at some point and I recommended to change or do something different and you like to stay there, it's your body, you have to live in it. So work out the stress that needs worked out. So this time, make the circles larger. By being even more relaxed. Make sure your breathing is full. Come back to the center. Next, if you have one arm out in front, this one is a yoga eagle. So collapsing the front, feel as though you're closing the front. The same way that you feel that your pecs and your chest is closed in the front this way, do the same thing with your stomach so that your back opens in the upper back and lower back. Breathing deep, looking over from one side, and then turning, looking all the way over the other shoulder. Change back and forth, left side, right side. You can do it with your breathing, but you don't have to. On this one, if you're breathing correctly and full, you should feel the stretch expanded as you turn. And then relax. We're going to change sides, so put the other hand out. Just, you can wrap as many times as you can. Some people are very flexible. If you got one, just even if you have one side under the elbow is good enough. You should feel the expansion in your back, turning from one side to the other. And this time, try everything relaxed. Keep your eyes level to the horizon. Do you remember which side you started on? Once you balance it out, come back to the center. Next, turning. This is a good one, by the way, if you work in front of a desk all day, if you sit in front of the desk, if you get up, it doesn't require a lot of space. Keep your jawline facing forward, your hips facing forward. We can use this opportunity to talk about another internal idea for Tai Chi. Earlier we talked about the internal structure of the J shape. There's a waist turn in Tai Chi in every posture. And while we practice this, we can think about, keep working, keep turning, keep breathing. I talk a lot about externally, your hips are going this way, your rib cage is doing this, your jaw is here, your shoulders, your neck, what's happening. But internally, your internal organs doing this, even if you keep your face facing forward. So this is considered one of the benefits of Tai Chi. Even if you don't have time to do a lot of Tai Chi, if you're having any type of internal digestive anything, this kind of turning forces the organs to brush up against each other, against the inner tissue, the inside the rib cage, the skeleton inside the abdomen, against the abdominal wall, and is one of the internal health benefits of Tai Chi. In addition to helping you make martial arts power for people that are interested in power, right? This is a heavy kind of power. If you wouldn't walk up to a metal, you can take a break for a second. Right? You wouldn't walk up to a metal post and turn your waist with that kind of power. You would hurt your hands, right? Maybe break a bone, something like this. But more than power, we can use right? And you can use a stick, right? Charlotte has a stick. You can use a stick to do the same thing. If you look before getting into martial arts, Tai Chi, I was very into fitness, Western fitness, like body sculpting, body building, this type of thing. And guys will use this exercise, people will use this exercise for abdominal training, right? Especially if you engage your abs, let it free fall, and then put on the brakes, and then use the other side to initiate the turn, right, for this type of movement. But if you're in the office or if you're someplace and you like to stretch, right, after sitting somewhere, even just turning here, you can get a Tai Chi benefit. In fact, we have the X-stepping exercise where you can step back and step forward, right? This is a Tai Chi warm-up, a Tai Chi exercise you can practice in a very, very small space. Let's continue. Grip your feet, push your tailbone back and away, and then relax your entire upper body. Allow your crown to point towards the ground. Let your fingers hang. Let your shoulders relax. Imagine that gravity is your spine stretcher. And so keep your abs in the right place. Grip your feet. Remember to breathe while you're upside down. And then let your upper body expand. The blood flow will change. And when you're ready, lock your feet to the ground. You can push your tailbone away. Unroll your spine. Rooting into the ground, sinking your feet deeper as you reach all the way up. Expanding all the way. And relax. This one, actually, I wasn't practicing with you because I'm trying to give you voice commands, but I realize people practicing at home. Grip your feet, push your tailbone away, use your abs, let everything relax. Remember to breathe while you're upside down, the same expanded breathing that we were doing earlier while we're doing Qigong. Relax your whole structure so you can feel it fold more over the center line. And then when you're ready, on an inhale, lock your feet, send the energy down past your feet, breathing, inhaling, inflate all the way. Expand your lungs, stretch, and then relax. For the legs, we're gonna do some leg work today. So we're gonna just do a little bit of stretching. So from here, if you have one foot going forward, pushing the other foot out, push your tailbone away. You can use this leg for support. Reaching out, remember to breathe. And folding your torso as if it's in line with your leg. So the goal ultimately is to get your head top to your toe. Or some teachers teaching can get their chin to their toe. And then when you're ready, as you stand up, roll forward onto the foot. So when you stretch, you can just step forward, push forward. Try the other side. So grip the ground. Push the tailbone back. You can use something for support. This isn't Tai Chi, this is warm-up exercise, stretching. Dao Yin. Breathing, reach forward. Fold your torso. Expanded breathing. Head top stretching towards the toes. And then when you're ready, stand up, push forward, breathe deep. And then we'll do one more on each side again. So, at your own pace, at your own level, push your tailbone back. And either one of two things, either keep your chin like you're extending your chin forward, or use the top of your head, your crown chakra, extending one or the other, doesn't really matter. You may feel a different stretch for each one. It's a variation. Remembering to breathe. And then on your own, when you're ready, we're going to change sides. By the way, that's a good note for Aaron, is you can, if you're here, you can grab your foot and pull, right? Even if you can reach beyond it, you'll feel a different kind of stretch. This is one of the notes when I say put your toes to your nose. Gripping the foot is the same. Remember to breathe. And then when you're ready, on your own, coming back up. One of the things I want to talk about today is the knee and knee structure, knee placement. And this gets into something we might think of as advanced, even though it's happening in the first part of the first section, the very first couple of postures in Tai Chi. But the breakdown we do today is going to get into Ban Lan Shui and turning. So if you take a horse stance, which is feet at least shoulder width wide, if not wider, and sitting back, and we want to try to keep the same Tai Chi alignment, right? So for people just joining, we covered the Tai Chi principles earlier, external, internal, and for this one, we're going to practice changing the leg from the hip. So if you have this kind of horse stance, we're going to take one toe and lift it and turn the foot out. You can go up to 90 degrees. Please don't go more than that. And then come back to the center. And then make sure the feet are lined up so we can use this for an accuracy exercise as well. And then with the other foot, the same thing. Lift the toe and turn it out to 9. As much as 90, you can go 45. Don't turn past 90. It's possible, but for this exercise. And so I want you to feel that you're rooted the whole time you can turn that foot and that you have the structure. We're putting the weight into the heel during this type of transition. So turn. If this is easy for you, check where your tailbone is located, because we want to keep the tailbone tucked. When I practice this, I'm wearing black right now, so maybe if I turn to the side this way, when I lift this, I don't want to push my butt back to turn this out, right? If I'm here, I don't know if you can see my feet, but I may be here, and then why does that happen? It's because we don't have the leg strength, we don't have the balance. So making it more narrow will help. If you just take shoulder width where your feet are to the insides of your shoulders, something like this, right? And you do the same thing. Lift your toe and turn. You can turn out to 90 and turn it back. The problem is here is when we lift the toe, we tend to straight leg. So as it becomes wider, this, by the way, works very, very wide step. In fact, if I do, we've been talking about doing this kind of stretching. We're not doing it today. But if we get to here, I can turn my heel and put all my weight onto that foot. So this type of alignment, and you can think of it structurally just like a post. So if I'm in a deep Mabu horse stance, something like this, right? And my feet right now are parallel. I know that they look like they're skewed. It's the angle of the lens. But you can think of this line as being the pivot from my hip to my heel. That's the line that's turning. So the knee, when you think about it in that type of geometry, just becomes like a piston. It doesn't even flex. So if you have the knee, the hip, and the heel turning at the same time, right? Like I said, this can get into a lot deeper type of stances. But today we're going to talk about the very first couple of postures, right? And specifically the first section. So this is important for people learning the Tai Chi form. Not everybody's interested in learning the classical form. A lot of people came to TC, people have approached me, they're only interested in learning the first section, 24 postures. Why do we practice Tai Chi at all? We could practice if we did this exercise and put it into an X step and shifted backwards and forwards, or we say we did a different type of exercise, but we used all the Tai Chi principles. Couldn't we just do this for an hour and get the same benefit? Yes, no? Yes, of course we could. The reason we practice Tai Chi is because we don't want to just stand like this for an hour doing this, right? We can. Maybe somebody, if you have a beautiful view and you just like to watch nature, you can do this. But for the rest of us, just mastering the Tai Chi principles alone is difficult. Putting it into the form becomes a long-term practice. So looking at the first few postures, grasp the sparrow's tail and ward off, we're already into this type of structural thing. And we're going to carry it into the second section. We have something after we do, Gaotan Ma, when we turn and kick. We have one where it's standing, where we do the same technique, right, that has this hop. But we have to do it right or we can injure ourselves. Because I've said it once in class already, I'll say it a second time. Safety first. The only way to practice for a long time and be able to teach into our old age or be able to practice and function well is slow, steady progress. Injury is a big setback, and there's no reason to go there, at least on our own. Something external may occur. Some things we don't have any control over. But for ourselves, if your practice makes you worse, what good is it? So we have to always, it's self-defense, protecting ourselves first. Let's look at what we're going to talk about today. Is if I face in this direction and I'm doing the Tai Chi form and I do grasp the sparrow's tail, I'm turning my foot to open. But when I do that, I shouldn't disturb the rest of my structure. How many here have heard me talk about the staple, right? The shape that's like the proportion of a staple that goes for your hips. This becomes very, very important once we're into this type of detail with the form. So from the horse step, my quad, my hips have, anybody that's ever worked with a staple is a certain amount high and a certain amount across. Generically, we can refer to that shape as the same structural shape geometrically as the pelvis. It's a certain amount high, and it's usually wider across than it is high. And so when we're doing this type of turning, when I do grasp the sparrow's tail, I don't want the level part of the top of the staple to rise up, and I don't want the thing to turn under or turn back. So practicing this way, you get leg strength. So I can turn to open the foot for grasp the sparrow's tail. And then, standing on that foot, this other foot moves straight forward. And when I start to transfer the weight, if you watch, I'm closing that foot back to the geometric shape, right, back to being on the train tracks. And so these early movements already giving us, a lot of people in the beginning don't practice this. This is probably the first time I've taught this. I know that I taught at the Y, and I know in Westwood Park some time ago, but online classes, I haven't taught this in a year. So, because usually when people learning in the beginning, they look and they say, I see you moving your foot, but I'm not sure what's happening. So, let's practice together. If we're standing and we're facing forward, and we do grasp the sparrow's tail, step forward square. When you ward off, you can close that foot and maintain contact with the ground. And now on the other side, I shift back to this foot, grasp the sparrow's tail. My heel is just spinning on that pivot to open. And then I step forward. Don't turn more than 45 for now. Square step forward. My foot's lined up with the grid. And as I shift forward, I lift my toe and line back up with the grid. Breathing deep. Shift back. We're sitting on the rear foot. This front foot can roll along that axis easily. Grasp the sparrow's tail. Step forward. Keep your hips level. Square step. Ward off and close the foot. Alright, let's do that a few more. We'll do it at least 3 more times. I don't know if you guys can see my feet, so I'm going to change direction and go this way. So if we just start from Taiji Chishi, the ready stance, and we're here. I wonder if I should get different shoes maybe. Can you see the foot? Turning to open, grasp the sparrow's tail. Straight step forward, ward off. Grasp the sparrow's tail. Straight step forward, ward off. Grasp the sparrow's tail. Ward off. Does it matter if you lift your foot off the ground? No. In fact, for some martial arts applications, some people will say, don't lift your toe. Here, you only have the contact of your foot. It's easier to change, but more difficult to maintain traction. If something happens and you have to suddenly change weight, there's a structural deficiency. Some people will say, leave it flat to the ground so that if something changes, it's just weighted, right? There's no opportunity for a structural change to happen. It's already stuck to the ground. I think when practicing the Taiji form, if you can very specifically lift the foot, turn it, and set it down, it's a better yoga, right? It's better for your workout, for your mind, better exercise for all the connective tissue from your ankle. Let's do this. I'll face the other direction. So if I'm starting, I grasp the sparrow's tail, my right foot opens, I step forward, and then shifting, turn the foot, grasp the sparrow's tail, open the foot, step forward, return back to the grid. The foot opens, the same time grasp the sparrow's tail happens, and then when we step forward, ward off. So this also happens at the end of the first section We have something, if I face this direction, we have holding the moon in the chest. And we have Bon Lan Shui. The same thing here. In this one, the foot, we may pick the foot up so that we can step on the opponent's foot when we do Bon Lan Shui. And then I'm facing the 45. It's going 45 degrees here. I'm going to change and weight that foot, standing here, square step forward. This is Lan, opening. And then as I go to punch, right? So there's a couple different kinds of punches we can throw. One of them, we're planting from the rear foot. Power, if I'm pushing off of that rear foot, is power is coming through the rear foot, hips, waist, spine, shoulder this way. But there's another one we can throw like this. My feet don't have to be connected to the ground. So if you like to do the driving punch, the same thing. As I punch, I can push through my heel. As long as it's connected, there's still power. See how I can turn and push, punch, right? And if we like to do the other one, the foot can slide into place, right? It's carrying it with us. So this is a concept when we talk about our square step. Let's actually practice. If I'm facing, this would be the way that we'd be doing it in the form. Bon Lan Shui is when I go to the 45, my foot, this foot's on the 90, this foot's turning 45. And then Lan is open, like I'm going to open the opponent's weapons, arms. And then as I turn my waist, I want to straighten that foot. Whether I lift it or not depends on your timing, your speed. So then Bon Lan Shui on the other side. Now this foot's 90. As I scoop, stepping 45. And then now my line of action turning due east, open. And then as the power's returning back to the center, I can adjust that foot. You don't have to practice this way. This is the sort of most advanced way. The reason it's important is because later, like I said, if you get used to turning on your heel, you can protect your knees quite a bit, and then later, like we said, even if you get into something here, you can use that heel, if your legs are strong in the right way, as a structural thing to get, and you can practice a million times without damaging yourself. But we have to work up to it, right? Baby steps. Before we continue, any thoughts, questions, comments, ideas? Yeah, go ahead. Ask freely.
That motion that you're describing, that's how I do the legendary 1-inch punch. It's you. With your hand here and your hip there, that little motion and that little flip is what gives that impact. And it looks like you're not moving, but you're moving so much of your structure that you can break the board.
Right. So now practice the 1-inch palm, right? Is when you go to the bag. I know you have a studio, so stand in front of the bag and see if you can make the bag move without exhibiting any external movement. So get your legs, your waist, all of that comes out through here. So how much power can you bounce the bag away a far distance, right? In some Bagua dragon palm, they refer to this as vibrating palm, right? You can create a vibration in your palm without demonstrating it externally. This is right. What Mark is saying is correct. This is the idea. It becomes smaller, and the movement externally becomes smaller and smaller with the amount of force that comes out of that movement. All right. Yes. Questions, thoughts, comments. We're gonna work on something from the second section, and I want you to be careful, especially if you're working along at home. I know people in class have experience with this, but something from the second section. After we do cloud hands, we have cloud hands like this, and then we have hook. We have a corner whip. Galtan Ma, turn 1, turn 2, and this next thing is what we've been talking about taken to the extreme. It's this exercise here, turning on the heel and turning the heel back. But what is the most extreme? We said this is like 50-50. My weight's balanced evenly, very easy to turn, right? I can turn out here. This one, maybe 60-40, 60% of my weight is here, 40% out here. This one, maybe 90-10, not 80-20, something, 80% here. What's the most extreme? 100-0 is when we're on one foot. So this movement in the form does not have a name, but there was a student several years ago in Westwood who named it and referred to it as hop to east. And so in the second section, if you just watch, we have the first Galtan Ma's hook and whip, right? We have avoid, make contact, and advance, and then avoid, make contact, advance is Galtan Ma number 2. And this next movement, there isn't a name. Hop to east is as close as we get, is I'm lifting my toe and turning. If I take my shoe off, we should be able to turn, right? This is hardwood floor. I have a cotton type sock on. So you should be able to pivot very safely, right? Turning, in this one, we're only turning about 45 degrees. You can turn up to 180. If I'm doing this one, you really, to be correct, you turn about 90. You can, on your own, when you practice, you can turn as many times as you want. But watch this. Lift, stop. Lift the toe, control the foot. Lift, control, lift, control, lift, control. It's a foot strength. The thing to be careful about is your knee. What you don't want is this. Okay? So that means when you do this, your leg is locked, and it's locked with a bend in it. It's not locked straight, it's locked with this bend. So when I lift my toes, you can think about gripping your glutes and making the glute, the buttocks, to the heel as one piece so that you can do it. You should be able to use your toe to lift, turn. Turn as much, control the landing. So, by the way, this also gets into some, you should be practicing at home, right now while we're doing this. I don't want to be standing here doing too much talking. But by the way, this also, you may see in the third section, no, sorry, it's at the end of the second section. We have something, we're facing the southwest, we have 2 winds going to here. People do this pull kick. Some schools, some Tai Chi schools, turning, I'm not practiced, maybe if I took my sock off, right, is this pull kick and then turning 180 on that foot, right? Maybe I have to switch feet, is where they turn. And they spin in place. And
you're pivoting on the heel, not the toe?
The heel, not the toe. That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but what I'm saying is, hang on, let's rewind. The place where we do it in this form is after the second Galtan Ma, there's a hop. It's 90 degrees, it's completely controlled. The other thing, after the kick, between the 2 kicks, I don't recommend it, and TC didn't recommend it. And one of the reasons is it starts to get into a higher type of, it's into Bagua. So in my classes, after we do 2 winds go in the ear, we step back. We can do this all just like Tai Chi, right? Like this movement. But then theoretically, I'm not going to sit here and turn, change, kick. Why? Because if my opponent, right, this was TC's idea, is if my opponent is coming towards me and I kick, but I just spin in place, they're going to attack. So for mine, the way I have changed mine is in this second section. Once we do the thing, doesn't matter how you do it, right? This kick is we're initiating a Bagua turn. And TC would say, make it like you're running away. Aaron, have you ever heard him teach this one? No, don't. right, is this. That's the first one. Is psychologically, after we do the kick, if we see there's another opponent, don't attack. Put your hands up like you're turning. And then you have something else as you turn back again, right? So we have to make that arc large enough to accommodate the opponent coming in. We don't want to just spin on that heel. It exists. It's a Tai Chi thing. It's a Tai Chi principle. I want you to cultivate your leg power and your dexterity to be able to do this turn. So, how do we practice? I want you to go back. How many in school here ever got bored enough to start doing this thing with your paper on a pencil in school? You have a desk and you have a piece of paper and you take your pencil and you push the eraser on it and you spin it. We're going to try to do the opposite thing. I want you to imagine your heel is the eraser. And this time we have to, instead of pushing down and spinning, we have to lift up while it's turning. So you can think of this almost like a jump, but we're just jumping just enough. We're just lifting the weight and setting it back down. So right where you're at, take one leg. And we're going to start small. And standing on one leg, right, you can have your other foot up. I don't know if you can have it on the ground. That's interesting. And then pushing with your toes, just turn just a bit. Just turn a small 5%, 10%. If you know what you're doing, if you understand what's happening, protect your knee, right? You can turn as much or as little as you want. But the thing is, what you can't do is this. If my foot stays locked here, I can't turn my body. That will cause my knee to twist. So the weight has to be off of the knee. How can it be on the knee? It's in the heel. And even then, like what I'm demonstrating when I do this, is I'm jumping, setting it down, right? You're doing a lift. You can think of lifting the base of the torso while you do it, and then setting the weight back down. You can think of doing it with your chi internally, right? Everybody gets the idea. The main thing that I want you to get out of this is always turning your knee with your foot. The reason that this is important is because in Tai Chi, obviously, when we practice, we want to do it correctly and we want to have the alignment. But then in our day-to-day life, in our regular life, when we're not practicing Tai Chi, there's things when you're sitting somewhere and you go to get up and you put your foot here, right? You can't see my foot. But if I put my foot here, and I really want to be going that way, a lot of times we'll just transfer the weight and then start to twist the hip, the knee, and maybe it slides into place. But instead, when you go to get up, I put my foot in the direction I want it to go because my hip is very flexible. And then when I stand up, I roll directly to that direction and push off with my other foot accurately, something like this. So every step, before we do Tai Chi, let's do a little bit of standing. So make your feet parallel. Imagine you're holding something, yoga ball, beach ball. You can imagine a tree. So push your head top up. Let everything else, like imagine you have a blanket or a sheet and you take one point and you pull it up. The rest of the points follow. The rest of the points also hanging with gravity. The only point not is where you're holding it at the top, where it's pinched. So the very top, your crown going up. Everything else hanging with gravity. Relax your shoulders. Relax your arms. Relax your tailbone. You can even relax your legs by push your tailbone backwards, away from your front, and then allow it to sit downwards away from your spine. Grip your feet a whole bunch and then allow them to relax. And repeat that a few times until you find the comfortable, correct alignment for your feet, and then allow them to be in the same shape but be completely relaxed. So earlier when we were stretching, we said you can stretch your physical body. externally using the muscles, the tendons, and then internally with the breathing, and then also internally with your mind. So part of this practice, the Tai Chi practice, not just learning self-defense as far as how to throw a punch, how to kick, but also fine-tuning our awareness of right now, being where you are, doing what you're doing. Because when you do that, then you can really put your mind inside your shoulders and feel, oh, there's still tension there. You can really put your mind into your ankles simultaneously and feel that one's not quite as aligned as the other one. You can see how centered your tailbone is between your feet. Feel the placement underneath your center line. And then feel your body temperature. Are you warm? Are you cold? Do you know how to balance it with your breathing? Check to see that you have a weird look on your face. So next, just relax your arms. Just keep the same, almost like a triangle from your head top to your feet. Let your arms relax. Let them hang to your sides for a minute. And then, just like you're holding underneath, earlier just a second ago we're holding a ball, put your palms underneath the base. And imagine the ball pushes your elbows out to the side so that they're not collapsed here, but instead feels round. And feel the weight of it. And just like we said before with the jump, like a small hop, like a little lifting, using the whole body, pull the ball up just a little bit, and then let it relax. And so this is weird. We're going to use every part of the body to lift the ball, but just making the smallest movement each part can make, including lifting the base of the torso, making the arch in the foot, gripping the pads on the fingers, lift up just a little bit, and then let everything relax. Small lift, let it relax. Same thing. Just like, imagine if it's on the surface of the water, you're lifting it so little it doesn't break the contact. And then let everything relax. And then change, go back to letting just your arms, keep your legs and your spine lined up. And we're going to change, bring the hands on top like you're resting them on top of a ball. This means your elbows sitting on the surface, they're not too far down and they're not too far out. Allow them to round out onto the ball. And the same thing, using your whole body from your toes and your head top out to your fingertips, down to your tailbone. Like you're pushing, you want to push the ball 1/2 inch into the water. And then let everything relax. So breathing deep. And then use everything to push. Almost like you're going to float on top of it. And then let everything relax. Natural breathing. Go at your own pace. Just a few times. Pushing down. And then let it all relax. Going on your own breathing to push. And then relax. Relax your arms. Bring your feet together. Bring your hands together. And we'll start from here. If you need to move around, we're going to practice Tai Chi. Opening, shoulder width wide. Sink the tailbone. Let the energy expand through the arms. Carry the head top. From Tai Chi Chi, there's only one movement. Open the foot, grasp the sparrow's tail, looking forward. Ward off to the center. Breathe. Breathing deep. Open the foot. Grasp the sparrow's tail. Standing square step. Ward off directly to the center. Turn the feet accurately. Also, using the heel. Join the palms. Press. Push. Breathe left. Breathe right. Schwang an means on. Split. Hook. Square step. Single whip. Turning back north. Lining the feet up to the square. Split. Ti Sol San Shi. Roll up. Turn 90 degrees. Crane. So Wei Pi Pa. Brush knee press forward. Tui Bu, square step back. Crane. Breathing deep, So Wei Pi Pa. Brush knee, square step press. Here we open the foot, turning. Lo Shi is brush knee. Ao Bu, square step. Kan Shang, vibrating palm. Open the foot, brush knee. C step, square step. Palm press directly in front of your own heart chakra. Open the foot, brush knee. It's all one continuous movement. There are actually no breaks. We only pause so that we can see where the movement is. Brush. Is that too many? Holding the moon in the chest. Oh, we're on the wrong side. We have to press too many times. Here. Open. Stepping forward. Punch. Still on the square. Now, when I turn 45 degrees, square step, align the rear foot. 45 degrees, square step, align the rear foot. One more, Ba Man Shui. 45, square, align, Ru Feng, Si Bi. On my heel, I'm turning, left foot, right hand, right foot, left hand. Return tiger to mountain. Bring the feet together. T-step, hook step. Heel stepping first. Palm press to the center. Breathe deep to roll back. This is the same 8 movements we do in the beginning of the first section. Join the palms, facing south. Press. Push. Look left. Glance right. Horizontal split. I'm facing east. Hook. Turn back to look at the moon. Turning 180. Spear fist. Repulse the monkey. Press. Scoop. Step back. Press. Scoop. Step back. Press. Opening to the side. This is diagonal flying. Hai Di Zhang is needle at the bottom of the sea. Sen Tong Bei. Turning, block, punch, kick, square step. Lan is open. Shui is punch. Keep your head top up. Di bu hua. Shang bu li. Change step, roll back. Press. Push. Look left. Glance right. Double press. Horizontal split hands. I'm turning my heel 90. Split. Hook. Side whip. This is cloud hands in the second section. Turn right, press right. Turn left, step and press left. Press. Cloud hands. 2. Cloud hands 3A. 3B. Hook. Corner whip. Turning 90 degrees. Gao Tan Ma. 1, 2, 3. This is what we had talked about earlier. So now, Gao Tan Ma number 2. And when I turn, scoop, brush, press. Brush knee, C-step, press, brush knee. This foot doesn't open. Straight step, punch, turning, block, punch, kick, square step, lan. Shui is focus power. This is bend the bar, so hua. There I open my foot 45. Da li is big roll back. And going the other direction, you can see my foot turning Da li. Scoop the moon from the ocean. Left foot steps behind the right. Kick. Brush. 2 winds. Going in the ear. Going at your own tempo height. Stepping back. Turning. Kick. Turn. 1, 2, 3. Still facing southwest. Pull right. Kick right. Block. Punch. Kick. Square step. Lan. Shui. Rufeng. Si. Turning. We're going to close the second section. Return Tiger Mountain. Block. Punch right. Punch left. Bring the left side back to the right. Bring your hands together in the center. We are going to do the third section. I just want to take a break for a quick second. Does anyone have questions, thoughts, comments, ideas on anything we have covered so far? Ask it well. You can just unmute yourself. Push the button.
Oh, I have a question. Where we do the Banlan Shui, like 3 times to the one side, you change feet. Like, I remember it was always one way one side and then the other way the other side, and you actually change it?
No, let's look, because today, okay, so this may be confusing. Previously, for most of the past year, I have been teaching a condensed version of the first set that does not include brush knee presses, because there's a few of them and that makes it travel. And I think I've been mostly teaching a single Banlan Shui. So there's in the first section, there's actually there's 2 brush knee presses and there's 3 Banlan Shuis, right? So so today, I think because I was doing the foot thing, I think I did one too many brush knee presses, because this is an exercise you can get into. And so I did too many, and instead of my right hand being forward to brush for hold the moon in the chest, I was somehow here, which I guess we could do that way and balance it back out on the other side. But I think my foot placement was incorrect because I was trying to demonstrate something in the middle of the form. So yeah, that should be pretty straightforward. So let's actually review that first part of the first section of what it officially should be, not any of the changes. So after we have the second crane, we have brush, brush, press. And then we have brush, knee, C-step, press, brush, knee, C-step, press. There's a left and a right. Holding the moon in the chest stays the same, and we punch forward. Right? So now from this punch, we have Ban Lan Shui 1, Ban Lan Shui 2, Ban Lan Shui 3. Sorry if that's confusing for Aaron, Mark, and Charlotte, anyone else that's been practicing for some time. You have seen the longer one, but for people that have been studying online, it's a different one. So don't. It's just like details. And we cover those things anyway. Nothing has that. I haven't taken out anything that isn't covered anywhere else in the form. So think of it like translating a document that needs to be reduced in size. It's like a paragraph that repeats itself has been. Aaron, that looks good. One thing is, and this is, by the way, this is for everybody, especially if when we start to use Tai Chi for martial arts. When you're boxing, when you get into, you want to play Kung Fu with the Tai Chi, is what happens is this. Because we want to feel like when we're boxing somebody, we want to feel like we're covered or protected. So sometimes when we think about using that for Kung Fu, right, we start to compress our frame. Tai Chi very specifically, we want to be able to have the mentality to keep our frame open, right? There may be some benefit to collapsing the frame, but the trade-off is we lose our structure, we lose the power that comes in the structure. So even in the forms of Tai Chi, like we said, as it evolves into Bagua, as it evolves into Pigua, that has this kind of movement, we still want our structure. We don't want to change and shift. It's a probably self-defense coming from the reptile mind, the inner part of our mind that wants to have ourselves protected like this, as opposed to keeping our structure. This is for everybody. If there's, go ahead, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I had one question with Kanzan. Yeah, I have too much tension in my shoulders, anyways. But what I realized is I always do a heel turn to release energy on this one. So I start back and wave in, and I'm all on my heel, turning my toes the whole way through.
You can.
Yeah.
You can. So that's what we were talking about today, is on some of these, you may, if you're thinking about, you've grabbed a hold of someone or something, you may need to be making power from way back here. You can be turning that foot and still driving off of it at the same time, right? So by the way, this also works in reverse. There's some part of the form, I think it's when we go to the second section, is there's times when we turn on the toe, that toe pivot is also connecting to my hip. So when you see me doing this, like this here, a good place for it is when we do the warm-up and we do this kind of thing when we reach all the way over. You can think of like a performer, right? Elvis, doing this kind of thing. The whole leg is turning. So when I do this, my heel, right? If you think of a post that has a flag coming off of it, right? Or even better yet, how many here don't know what a weather vane is? Right? It's one of those posts, and it has a piece of metal or plastic that goes across it. So if my post always goes from my hip through my foot, I can make it go through my heel, and my knee and my toe become like the weather vane. Something like this. But if I change, if I'm doing something different, and I need to turn all the way this way, the post goes from my hip to my toe, and my ankle actually becomes the weather vane that's turning out. It stays along the line of the axis. If you can do this, if you can understand this principle and master it, you won't have knee injury, right? Some of this stuff with Tai Chi that we practice, gripping your feet, you should be doing it every time you walk. So when you stand up and you walk and you say, what am I doing? Am I really present here? Because if you are, you'll start gripping your feet. And that reminds you to adjust your posture, which reminds you to relax your shoulders, which reminds you to start breathing. Because the real value of the Tai Chi is coming when you stand up from your desk and you go, oh yeah, what's that stretch? Breathe all the way out. Because you don't have to fight anybody. There's no reason. We're not boxing with anybody. It's getting weirder out there, right? Everybody feels the tension and this weird stuff. But for day to day, you can be practicing Tai Chi. You don't have to. I recommend if you like to learn the form, spend some time every day practicing it. But you can put the principles to practice when you're cooking, in the kitchen, right? Anytime you're doing something, working, you can be doing the thing. So let's continue with the third section. Mark, yes, go ahead.
I wanted to make your comment if you were just getting into that part. You said that earlier that you're not practicing Tai Chi, you're doing something else. We should always be practicing martial arts. And the moment you wake up to you go to sleep, martial arts should be in your head. That's the last principle of the 20 value principles of karate. You always engaged in your martial art to get through life. But you were just getting to that point when you said that.
Yeah, and I think it's this is TC called it Tai Chi, right? A lot of times people will say, "Oh, I learn Kung Fu." Tai Chi is Kung Fu, and when people would ask him, "Is Tai Chi Kung Fu?" then he would call it self-defense. And so this is self-defense when we don't really have anyone to defend against, is actually self-improvement. So we can consider all these Tai Chi ideas, how to fix our posture, our shoulders, all this stuff. Exactly what Mark said, from the time you wake up until the time you go back to sleep. And even then, there's people studying yoga for how to maintain consciousness through different phases of sleep and this type of thing. Yeah, the real benefits where the rubber hits the road. Questions, thoughts, comments. Let's do the third section together. Right from the center. If you like to just start in the third section, you can open shoulder width wide, sink right, left. By the way, if you need to go at any time on your own, just check out as needed. Bring the feet together. We're going to turn to the south, palm press to the center, get back into the breathing, relax your tailbone, join the palms, press together. Long breathing to push. Look left, glance right. Gather the energy, double press. Horizontal split, turning 90 degrees. Hook, side whip. I'm facing east. This is wild horse parting its mane. Yama Fa Zhang. Left hip, left shoulder sink, turning on the toe. Expand. Number 3, sinking, turning on the toe, what we had just talked about. Expanding. Breathe deep, turn 90 degrees, grip the ground. Join the palms, inhale, press to the center. Push. Look left, glance right. Double press. Horizontal split. Hook. Side whip. This is 4 corners. Scoop, scoop, press. Looking first, step and open, press. Bring the left side back to the center, scoop to the southeast, southwest, press. Looking first, right side opens, coil, press to the corner, left grasp the sparrow's tail, press to the left, Step forward, left press to the center. Breathing deep, return, push. Move left, glance right, Schwang Han. Horizontal, split hands. The owl show is hook. Corner whip. This is the first snake creeps down, and when we come back to the center, be long, Jinji Duli, opening, standing on the right foot, Jinji Duli, repulse the monkey, press, breathing, press, number 3, press. Sherfei is opening to the side. If we don't do the big shoulder bump, you can step out on your heel and ward off. In the third section, the left hand doing needle at the bottom of the C. Turning. Square step, Lan. Focus power, Shui. Keep your head top up. Bi Bu Hua. Fold knees. Change step. Return to deep breathing to roll back. There's a waist turn in every posture. You can exaggerate it to find if you need to. Look left, glance right, double press. Split, hook, side whip. This is cloud hands in the third section. So 1A and 1B. 2A, stepping, 2B. 3A, 3B. Breathing deep. This is hook, corner whip. Continue the waist turn, continue the arm movement, snake flashing his tongue, cover, turning 180. Pull right, kick right, cross kick, brush, punch, half, fold knees, change step, breathe deep, roll back. Horizontal split. Very good. I'm watching timing. Hook. This next one is corner whip, so I'm stepping a little bit wider because I know the next movement is snake creeping down. And this time stepping square, stepping up to 7 stars, rolling. Turning 90 degrees to the front. This is Huahu, ride a tiger. Turning 180 to the back. This is Bailian, his lotus kick. Wong Dong Serhu is open the bow to shoot a tiger. Block, punch, kick, square step, Lan. Shui Ru Feng. Si Bi. Turn your feet and your knees accurately. Return tiger to mount. We're going to close the form. Block. Punch right, punch left. Everything returns back to the center. Take a deep breath. I forgot one other option, one more variable. And that is, we said that the toe can pivot on the heel. We said when it's turning inwards, it pivots on the toe. There's one other one. The toe can also pivot directly in the center, right, without turning on either of those. That's when the feet are rooted. So the last, we have Bailien, which is the lotus kick, if you're turning this. And so after the lotus kick, when we step back to the corner, my baggy pants may not show, my feet staying connected the whole time. So on that, in that type of scenario, the feet, the pivot line goes from the hip to the center of the foot, and so both sides of that axis turning, staying flat. Questions, thoughts, comments on the third section? Okay, how are we doing for time? What time is it? How much time do we have left? Yeah? Are we still in Tai Chi class? It's been, what, an hour and 40 minutes, or are we into stick class? Because with the Tai Chi stuff, I want to work on legs. I want to talk about leg placement and what we were doing with the knee throughout the form, because I keep finding as we're practicing the form, I'm finding places. So let's look at into the second section. By the way, there's one thing I wanted to talk about today. When we do turn back to look at the moon, the same thing we had talked about in the third section. If you do this kind of kick here, you pull and kick this way, and then you pivot in place and step and pull kick, you'll get hit. The same thing with turn back to look at the moon. This is a concept that we can separate for performance Tai Chi versus real world, like the real useful. And in the form, after we do the second section, we have hook, and then we have turn back to look at the moon. And the seating, or the footwork for this is like in ballet, you have the fifth position. When you line your feet up like this, back to back, sideways, this has a name. In dance, right, in ballet, it's called fifth position. It may have something else and some other term. But this, you can use that. When you warm up, when you practice, it's a good way to make sure your feet, your legs, if you can do it, if you have the flexibility. You can take as many steps as you need to do it, but in a real world, in a real life, if there's somebody behind you, my recommendation after we do the horizontal split hands, when I turn, I'm going to take one step, 2 steps before I look at the moon. So this is the difference between, this is getting back to footwork and how we connect to the ground, how we connect to the opponent. So in the second section, we turn back to look at the moon is this way. If you like to impress the judges, or if there's some kind of yoga that you're working on to do this kind of thing, you can do that. TC taught it that way, but he said sometimes if you have, students are less flexible, or they're older, they have some kind of difficulty. After we horizontal split hands, you can take as many steps as you need to face 180, right, that it takes to get comfortable to do it. The 2 that we had just talked about, 1 is more when this is turning here, and then it's very direct, Tai Chi. Move one foot completely 180 and move the other one completely 180. Or we can make it like a Bagua, where after I've done my horizontal split hands, I can hook step to get to that point. Let's continue. Repulse the monkey. When I'm doing this foot going to the square, if I scoop when I step back, can you see my foot's on the toe? The same thing, I can pivot. So when I step here, I roll it onto the ground as I'm stepping back. So this is what you can make your repulse the monkey look very lightweight, is I have this, and then when I scoop and I step back, it's on the toe, checking with the toe first. And then as I go to step back, it rolls to the 45, and my other foot rolls either back to the 90, or in martial arts situation, I can close it. And secretly, I still have square. My feet are both still facing 45. So, if you're looking for super rigid, this is the exact one way to do it. I can't offer that because there's too many people practicing. This is it becomes a martial art. So the more understanding of principles you have, the better off it comes. Try Repulse the Monkey, just stepping back without just going 90, keeping your feet lined up to the grid. Step back, press. Step back, press. And then try some when you step back and press, stepping back, turn your foot, and then changing. So stepping back here, and then as I press, when I step back, my foot has to turn, and then I wait it, stepping back, turning, press. Right? And I can't see myself on camera. By the way, Aaron, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to single you out earlier, but this is actually really common with guys. I think I might have just been doing it. Is do Repulse the Monkey, is put my head down, right? And the reason I address it is, again, not to be specific, but because it's a mindset. It becomes a mindset of fighting as opposed to the mindset of self-defense. And part of the mindset of self-defense is you have the ability to defend yourself. A lot of times bullies, people that would want you to exercise your self-defense, don't have a lot of power. Usually people that have accumulated some type of power realize the value, the worth of it. These other people, they really don't have that kind of power. If they do, that's a different kind of situation. But in the meantime, we have to protect ourselves against ourselves. What's the next when we do this diagonal flying? When I do this kind of thing, shoulder bump, I'm just sliding my foot to do the hit. So if I want to hit something here, I'm sliding or arcing, in this case arcing my foot to get to the target. You can pick it up and slide it to bump. Or if you're practicing slow, right, how do you do shoulder bump in front of the competition? The judges are there, they're watching. And you have this nice high G form, right, and you want to show it slowly, is what we had just talked about. After I do my Repulse the Monkey and I open to the side, if I want to do shoulder bump, I can step out onto that heel and get into it. So this is, instead of stepping onto the toe, that looks weird, because we need to get into that space with structure and balance. By the way, especially for what we're doing right now, if you watch from the front, when I step here, my knee isn't going over the side. It's always, just like a weather vane, we said that metal piece is in line with the toe in the front of the hip. So that means when I put my weight down, I'm not transferring so that it buckles out this way. This is not comfortable and it's dangerous. It's always lined up in line with that axis, right? So when you're stepping out to the side, I can even turn my foot more. You can continue to turn it, right? So this kind of alignment. Let's see where else in the front. So we just talked about this. Needle at the bottom of the C. Santon-Bay. When we turn for Santon-Bay, can you see this foot? When it's turning, I'm turning on my heel. And then once it's 45, I can just set it down, and this foot turns on its toe. So here, how many recognize this from Bagua or Wing Chun, or even in our first section when we do this, right? Your feet pointing 90 degrees. It's just like the top of the square, right? We have talked about a square quite a bit. So after we do here, when I turn, these feet hitting a corner, and then when this one turns, I'm pivoting on the toe so that my knee, hip, and toe always staying lined up. And then kick, and then when I step forward, open, punch. The same thing for Dibouhua. If you watch, this foot, knee, and thigh staying in line, This one, on the toe, the whole leg is pivoting around that toe hip line. And then I can sit, I can do this all day without having any injury or any pain, right? So make sure that your toe and your knee are both pointing towards the other end of the corner of your square. This is where I wish if we had, in the park, I used to make a diagram on the ground, right now I'll go on the whiteboard on the mirror, right? We have something. So Ibohua also has that same, if you like to do it smooth, after the punch, Ibohua, and then when you come back up, it's a straight step, chain step. We had talked about that. What about horizontal split hands? Watch, I lift my heel, and then I turn my heel, and then I set it back down so that I can stand on it to lift my toe to get to here. Clear, right? This turn, horizontal split hands. What comes after that? Cloud hands. By the way, let's do corner whip. So at the end of cloud hands from here, when we do corner whip, I'm stepping onto my heel. You can make this very small, but in the case of the third section, when we want to do snake creeps down, I can line my feet up very accurately. So when I step heel, standing, and then watch this, as my weight shifts to the left foot, my right foot can close. Whether I just spin it or whether I lift and turn it to get into the right one, right? That's how your knee works. That's how it should work. Kick, and then turning. Kick, this one. Please be careful when you turn to do that one. Brush knee, press, brush knee, press, turn. For this, when we turn back to punch, after straight step punch, I'm rocking back. And then when I turn, watch this. See my foot is turned 180? I'm making, after my straight step punch, I'm making a step, a hook step, and planting all in one movement. So it's like we talked about the J shape earlier. This foot steps out, turns, and this foot's here. Can you do this one? Right? What we're doing right now is we've just gone to straight step punch. And I'm going to rock back. That foot is going to step out further than it was onto the heel. I'm going to turn. And then once that foot's planted, I'm going to free and turn on the toe here. Right? Let's try that again. Forget the hands. So if I'm here like this, I want to shift back, step, turn, plant, free, and spin. Let's try it again. So from here is shift back, heel, turn, plant, release. How many, does it hurt? Anyone have any pain? Right? No kind of tension in the leg, something like that. So now make it all just one movement. If you're here, you have to rock back and then turn. Make it one smooth turn. That's correct, right? Don't change try not to change the spinal structure. Sometimes we do this. It can make more power and then also bending. Anyway, so going from here is rock back, turn. If one leg is forward, shift back, step forward, and turn. What's the upper body movement for this one? Is TC never taught this large of a movement. TC's movement was turning here. But because I like Bagua, like you have a tag on the back of your shirt here, and you want to pull it all the way over so you can see it. Or another way I like to describe it is the old school science fiction. They would always have these giant glass helmets, right, when they would be walking. Not quite that big, right? They have like this big clear glass thing. Just imagine that you're taking your hand and running it over the surface, right? You have a rag and you want to put it over the surface. So combined, we shift back And then this hand is going back, turning over, block, punch, kick. So this movement here combined with that. So we do straight step punch, rock step, reach back. This hand is covering down here. Something like that, yeah. Let's look at more steps. So we turn, punch, block, punch. And in this one, bend the bar. I step back, I lift my heel. I'm opening 45 to accommodate my bending of the bar. I'm taking my structure, their structure, bending the bar forward, pull off, kick forward. When I step back, I'm on my toe. Turning, heel, toe, heel, toe, heel, toe. Each time. Makes sense. Aaron, that's right. So your feet always pointing the direction. What's the limit? TC would say if you have your feet 90 degrees this way, your power is in line here. If your feet are aiming this way, your line of power is going to be here. There's some martial arts, Wing Chun. We had just already talked about Boggle. They go like this and have their feet aiming at a point this way. The opposite of that is when you're teaching Tai Chi, if the student's feet are too far apart, the energy is scattered. We may be able to get something stable, because this is actually the corner of a box, right? I may be able to get something stable, but the power isn't there. Perhaps there's stability. So when this foot opens for grasp the sparrow's tail, and we step forward and close it, and then this foot opens, it can only open maybe 45 degrees at the max. If it goes beyond that, we lose the structural. And this is, I wish Howard was here for this too, because this feet turning at the beginning like this, and when we do Ban Lan Shui, is in the form, it's a form of alignment. We can learn how our body works, how the hip, knee, and ankle joint work together perfectly so that we don't have to change them. But this also indicates the feet are moving. So stylistically, or functionally, they have, like I said, the yoga, we can think about the alignment and the correct placement of all that stuff. But functionally, as a martial art, nobody's going to stand like this in front of their opponent and grasp the sparrow's tail. My center is entirely open. It means the feet are moving. If power is coming, I can do grasp the sparrow's tail here. My feet have to move to get out of the way, though. There are some movements that don't. Ward off, for instance. Once the opponent's in our space and we're here, we can just expand against them. Some postures, the feet are not moving. They're not double-weighted, but there's a power happening. In other ones, this is a style to indicate foot is moving. Same thing with the punch, right? Not many people doing this. But my foot stays with me, carrying the square. Questions, thoughts, comments? I think we have about 15 minutes of regular class for Tai Chi. So let's work on something. I think everyone here is doing third section stuff, unless you want to work on something different if you have some question. So let's go through the third section. We start with Return Tiger to Mountain, and we have the main set of movements until we arrive at Wild Horse parting its mane. This one, 1, 2, and 3. Does everyone have some idea of how this works? The meaning of this one is there's a power that's coming across this side, and you want to either deflect, catch, or attach to it here, and then from the inside where that power is coming from, we come back out to expand. So as power comes in, we reel it in, make it very small, and then expand it to come back out the same side. Wild Horse shaking its mane. Number 3. So then next custom movement, split, hook, side whip, 4 corners is the second custom movement. Anyone have questions? You have everyone has some idea about four corners, what's happening, the meaning for the movements, how they're working, right? Is we have this turning, scoop, scoop, press, turn, press. The strategy for this one is turning backwards. What happens after the fourth corner is we have left grasp the sparrow's tail, just like this. This is a place where people may have confusion. And after we catch, we're pressing down on the left side. So imagine there's something here, and you get underneath it, and then you're pressing down here on the left side, and then we step forward and press this way, right? So after the fourth corner, left grasp the sparrow's tail, right press to the left side, step forward, left press to the center. That continues just like the main 8 movements, right? No questions about four corners, everyone knows that. Split hook. What's the next one? The next one is diagonal, or snake, creeping down, and we come up D-long. For Aaron and anyone from the old school, D-long didn't exist before. TC didn't put a break, but this posture coming up through the center is D-long, is dig the earthworm, right? D-long is, D is earth, and long is dragon, earth dragon. So this is a nickname for dig the earthworm is here, is cutting up through the center, and then standing on that foot, Jinji Duli. So if we go from snake creeps down here, I turn my foot, and then the other foot is free. I turn that also on the heel to get it back in line, to come back up here. And then I go off my toe, and then bring that up to get to here. This is how you can make this transition from corner whip, if you want to get through to here all very smooth, right? Is accurate. Go ahead, yeah.
So you're striking with an upward swing as you come out of snake creeps down?
Yes, right. So this hand, let me do it facing. Let me do it facing the other direction. So if I'm here, right, and I change to this side, if I'm facing this way, and I do snake creeps down, I'm first opening this foot. I'm bringing this hand across, covering the opponent's escape here, driving that energy down. And now when I circle back, I'm coming here. I'm going up the center this way. This hand can should be covering. And then here, Jinji Duli. So pull across, and then as I come back up through here, this hand is incorrect, should be covering the center, the groin, right? So across here, and then
And I assume it's a groin strike, right?
yes, it's actually like I said, TC didn't. It's not even listed in the form on the text forms. He did say that this hand, when you're coming back up, protects. But the other teacher referred to it as in Mandarin. It's called dig the earthworm, right? And it's a joke, right? It's meant to, it's talking about, he said groin strike. So this is coming up here, and then we have Jinji Duli. So is it added? It wasn't in TC's text notes, but there was something there, and I call it D-long, which is basically earth dragon. So this coming across, and then here, turn the feet. Being able to do this, you can't see both feet, right? Is so turn here, turn here. Requires the right kind of strength. So this is something after practicing the form for some time. Right, that looks correct. Aaron, one thing, by the way, this is, I just said Aaron, I should say for everybody, I can't always see everybody's feet, but this is one of the most common things that I see for people practicing Tai Chi, especially in this style, and I do it myself, I'm guilty of the same thing, is this kind of small offset, right? It can be just camera angle, but until you really getting how your feet operating, you want to keep them, I don't know if you guys can see the hardwood floors, always lined up to the grid. It may seem really weird doing Tai Chi at first, but then once you get the alignment, once your body changes, it will make more sense. By the way, another thing that I want to talk about, which is, let's actually do a little bit of standing while we can practice some Jinji Duli. Is as your body heals itself, as you get into a more correct alignment. Tai Chi is a mystical art. Even if you don't practice every second of every day, right? We said the highest goal is self-improvement all the time. Even if you just practice 1 hour a week, you will start to have changes. And so this kind of change sometimes can come out, maybe feels like an injury, may actually, I don't want to say cause an injury or disturb an injury, but it can shake things up inside your body. And you may have one part that's healing, which causes another part to not feel good. So imagine that you have a type of blanket across a bed, and as you go to smooth out one part of the blanket, the other part of the blanket starts to crease. And then when you go over there to smooth that out, the other part has some lines in it. And so this is getting the body back into the correct alignment, back into the correct structure that your DNA has set up for it, that's made to be. We all have different body types, different baselines for what is normal. While that change is happening, you may feel structurally some imbalance, some type of, well, my right foot is a lot stronger than it was, but now I see my left foot isn't working as well. I refer to this type of thing as a ping pong. If you've been busy doing this to protect this part of the leg, keep working, keep standing. Whether you're just standing static or practicing Jinji Duli breathing. Then if you're doing this for some long time, the hips aren't level, and we have to take that shape, that geometric shape we had talked about earlier, and get it lined up to the point where it's level and even. So this can happen in the spine, can happen in the legs, can happen in the shoulders, and wildly different pieces of a part down here in your foot can affect stuff over here in your hip or all the way up here in your neck, because this structure is weak, so it causes me to baby this, which causes my hip to be here, which causes my lower spine to be over, which my upper spine is over, and this one is crooked this way. So this kind of ping pong. So in the meantime, while you're practicing, when we go into Tai Chi Harmony and we line the feet up, and we have the hips and the shoulders and the head top, everything lined up, you want to be carrying this structural idea with you throughout the day. After some time, after some weeks, months, years, your body will change, will go into the shape that it's supposed to by not being structurally lazy or energetically lazy when we walk, just flat-footing it, right? Frankenstein. The more we can walk like a cat, use the heel, roll onto the toe, and then as we step forward, roll off the heel and spring, right? Having a spring in your step structurally. Let's do just a little bit of Qigong to close. If I face the other direction, take a comfortable step. We're going to reach, turn the waist, turn, and then come back to the other side. Breathing. One spiral. Turn the waist. Can you turn 180? Can you keep your palm flat the entire time? Make the breathing long, deep, relaxed. Can you fill your lungs all the way up to the top? Go at your own pace. Try to keep your center line straight. Before you finish, make sure you balance out both sides. When you finish, bring everything back to the center. Bring your feet together, bring your hands together. We're going to do a short meditation, breathing deep, move your mind into the dantian, where your navel is, into the belly button. By the way, some people saying the dantian is 2 finger widths below the navel. And this is made where you read about it or see it in a chart if you go, sometimes referred to 2 Qin below the navel. But there's another interpretation, and that means when the patient is lying on their back, the actual dantian is 2 finger widths below the navel that way. So it's inward, maybe downward as well. If you read Dr. Young's book, he says there's a false dantian in the front, and the real one is in further and back down. Doesn't really matter. The best you understand how to get to the center, put your mind into the dantian. Take a deep breath. Internally, take a second to smile at yourself. Imagine smiling at yourself that you can relax. And then internally, take a second to give thanks. You have a mind, a body, and energy capable of doing many extraordinary things. So breathing in, smiling to yourself, take a second to give thanks to yourself. And then imagine all the energy, all the extra chi, everything that's above and beyond the regular involuntary services of the body returns back to the dantian. We can store that energy for later use at any time. You can do anything you want with it. If you have another class to go to, use the chi there for the rest of your day. But in the meantime, we make a deposit. So smiling, breathing in, taking a second to be gratitude, to have gratitude, be grateful for yourself. One long, last deep breath. And that's it. If you guys have questions, thoughts, comments, I think it's 1 minute until. And if you want to hang out, we can do some more. We can do some stick, or we can do more Tai Chi or Kung Fu, something else, if that's the case. So I'm going to cut my recording, and I'll see you guys in a minute.